Hi, this is Luchasaurus, and that's Jungle Boy. And you need to check out All Elite Podcast.
We are the Lucha Brothers, and you listen All Elite Podcast.
You know why?
Hey, this is Cole Cabana. Check out the All Elite Podcast. All Elite.
This is Sammy Guevara, the best ever. And you, yes you, need to go check out All Elite Podcast.
What's up, man? It's the Afro Machine, this Wolverine, Mr. GMSI himself, and man, Mr. Hugh Jackson Arms, Brian Cage. You're watching the All Elite Podcast. You better.
Welcome back, All Elite family, to another exciting edition of the All Elite Podcast. As always, I'm your host, All Elite Andy, joined by my boy, Big Match AJ, and we are here fresh off of not totally fresh, but last night was Dynamite. We had another exciting episode. I wasn't disappointed at all in last night's episode.
No.
We had some awesome matches, some great content. They turned out a pretty decent rating up against some stiff presidential campaign business, brother, but it was a good show overall, and I think the ratings served it well. AJ, how are you doing this week before we talk about AEW?
I'm doing good. I do have something going on. We entered the Road Short Film Competition for a film I did. If you want to vote for it, go to my Twitter. The link is there. It's Big Match AJ, and you can vote for my short film, and maybe we'll get money.
Yeah, find AJ on Twitter, Big Match AJ. Make sure you vote for his film. We have talked about this for quite a few episodes, you know what I mean? Probably over 100. You writing for movies and stuff like that, and you're producing one for a competition. So our listeners, if you've been with us through all that, you might as well vote, you know what I mean? Give AJ a vote and
yeah.
Tune into what he's got going on, because he's been working hard at it, and it's some good shit, man. So make sure you guys vote for that. I really haven't been up to much, trying to stay. I've been up to a lot, but nothing too exciting. A lot of college stuff, a lot of school, work-related shit. My other website, Upstate Aesthetic, stuff like that is going really well, getting my first set of merchandise for that. But
Nice.
Otherwise, really not up to a whole ton, which is fine by me. I got to enjoy a fun episode of Dynamite last night. We got to see Tanahashi on the episode of Dynamite. What do you think of that, briefly? You think there's going to be a New Japan crossover there, or what do we got going on?
Dude, I don't, but I really want there to be. Like, I want to be like, yeah, there's gonna be, but I don't. If there is, I mean, who knows? Harold Meji, however you pronounce his name, stepped down. The guy who runs New Japan USA is now the CEO. So if ever it's gonna happen, now would be the time, probably. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know.
Yeah, people are
Maybe.
definitely speculating just off of the brief things that happened on last night's show. Tanahashi giving a shout out to Jericho for his 30 years being one of them.
And then the Mox and Lance Archer talking about their match.
Yeah, no doubt. So there's definitely some reason to speculate. I don't lead too much credence into the speculation, at least at this point. But I'm with everyone in believing that it's something I want, and it's something I expect to see now more than ever, like you said, with the president being removed from New Japan, the shift in that landscape there. I think that there's a good chance. I think that Tony Khan did a really good job in the beginning, making sure that AEW would work with them, letting talent work there. Maybe not a direct relationship, but allowing there to still be a door open. So now that there's a potential, I think something really could happen. There's still continents away. There's still a whole pandemic happening. So not totally sure what they could really do for each other right now. But once things clear up, it would be very exciting.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it would be huge. It would be, there's not a lot of mind-blowing shit that can happen in wrestling. Like, John Moxley going to AEW is, like, the last big mind-blowing thing. A New Japan relationship with AEW, I feel like, would be on par with that.
Oh, man, yeah. There's no... to some people, they might not totally know a whole lot about New Japan, but the people that do know, that's like the biggest relationship you could possibly get, I think. Even I mean, obviously WWE, but that relationship would just be funny to begin with. So, yeah, I think that's something, as a fan, I'm definitely excited for, but it doesn't have to happen. AEW has been really great on its own. New Japan has been great on its own, but if and when that crossover happens, I will be excited for it. Something else I was excited to see, just another great number for AEW. They did 750,000 up against the vice presidential debate. So I'm not big on the presidential stuff, but I was big on the AEW stuff last night. So I'm excited to see a solid number beating out our boys NXT once again. So shout out to Joseph, Big Joseph. He didn't I don't know. I mean, it's just I'm glad to see that there's still over 1 million people tuned into wrestling on Wednesdays. I still don't care too much about winning. I'm not here to be like, oh, AEW won, but it's good to see a good number.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a really solid number coming up against the debates. It's got like, I don't know, like 50 bajillion people watching. So, yeah, it's a goddamn good number, honestly, considering what they were up against. Mike Pence's fly on the head, big news. So I don't know. They beat NXT again by a good amount too, which again, we're not big on winning and losing, but we do want to see them do better than the other show.
It's ironic we've been winning for like 30 or 40, however many weeks, and we're not big on gloating about it.
Yeah, we could wave the flag if we wanted to.
But the 2 weeks a year that we lose and say that, then we sound like quitters, you know what I mean? It's funny, but it's okay. It was a good rating for both shows. I think overall both shows continue to do well. I think they both deserve to be on separate nights, so that way everyone can watch both of them. But that's just me. Overall, a good night. A good night of wrestling for Dynamite, though. Let's go ahead and talk about it. I thought that the show was pretty good. They kick off with a video package, of course, with people praising Jericho, the night of Jericho, 30 years of Jericho. I liked how they started the show off because we have Brian Cage taking on Will Hobbs in a 9-minute match that I thought was a lot of fun. AJ, you want to go ahead and run the match down for us a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much to run down. It was a Haas fight. These guys were just throwing bombs at each other. They were killing each other. Big German suplexes from both guys who are huge and stacked, and you don't expect moves like that from them. Definitely a good Haas fight. Definitely what we expected. Like, if whatever your expectations were, I'm sure they were at least matched, if not exceeded. The only thing that could have been cooler is if Hobbs had won. That would have been pretty dope to have him take the FTW title for a bit.
I'm not mad at it though, because I do
either.
think Cage kind of helps. Not transitioning it so quickly does help establish it to become what it is, which I don't think it's necessarily a trophy of success, but a badge of badassness. More so to me is how I look at it. So
I kind of look at it like the Neverweight title in New Japan. How it's just like this title that gets thrown around. It doesn't matter.
But that's where I think that's almost an unfair definition at this point because they haven't done that. I think if Hobbs had won, then I think you'd be right and kind of on the right track.
That's
with
fair,
it.
yeah.
I think that by not putting it on Hobbs, which they easily could have done, because again, it doesn't really have a whole lot of importance. I just don't think that at any point they really want it to get confused in with their other primary championships. So I think it's just going to be again like a badge of like badassness. Like these are the baddest guys on the roster, and they're the ones who challenge for it. And I think that having Cage retain is a good way to show that by having the first guy be a legit badass.
I guess when I say the Neverweight, it's because I think of Ishii holding that belt so often, and I think of him being this badass dude who just holds the Neverweight title. Not that he's holding it right now, but definitely he's held it a lot. And so it kind of reminds me of that in that regard. But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And the match itself, really solid, in my opinion, really well done. Ricky Starks and Taz were on commentary for this one. Ricky Starks barely said anything, though, which was a little odd.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. I at one point I had to think, like, is Ricky Starks on commentary? Because I had heard him say a couple things, but yeah, I think that it was okay though. Because he didn't really add a whole lot and didn't take a lot away, and they did a great job at putting Hobbs over, even post match, talking about how he's a badass, trying to get him to join Team Taz, which I also thought was very interesting. This obviously sets up Darby Allin to come out and make the save because Starks and Cage are going to beat the hell out of Hobbs if he doesn't join. But they still left the door open for him to potentially join. He could turn heel and destroy Darby at some point. Not totally what I'm expecting, but you never know. AEW does some interesting things, and Hobbs definitely did not give an answer to this. You know what I mean? Darby just sort of came out before Hobbs could really say no, right? Or am I off there?
No, you're not off at all. I mean, I think it was implied, and I think that's the idea, is that it was implied that Will Hobbs would say no because the other option is the people who are asking you to join will beat you up. Yeah. So it seems pretty like, well, fuck you then. But you don't know, maybe you would have joined. So you're not off at all.
Yeah, I think that they could still make a decision to do a swerve type situation where I wouldn't look at it too much as like a negative swerve. But I would rather see Hobbs team with Darby and just sort of stay on the good guy role, because Hobbs looked great, and again in the match he looked great, and they put him over really well post match. So I think they did a great job for Hobbs here in the opener of the show. We then get a video of Slash, Dennis Miller, Tanahashi, Ted Irvine, Bully Ray, all congratulating Jericho for his 30 years. So again, as we mentioned at the top of the show, the Tanahashi thing was the most exciting thing. Everyone got talking really quick on wrestling social media about just Tanahashi being involved in general. So
yeah, really cool. The one, that New Japan let him do it. Two, that he did do it. And it's funny because, I mean, as far as I know, Chris Jericho's still calling him Bakahashi, so it's pretty funny that they did that, and pretty cool. Love seeing Tana there. And during the G1, which kind of promotes New Japan a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a good idea with it, and it just shows that there's obviously like a legit type of friendship there between Tana and Jericho. Even, and I'm not sure if they have a relationship that goes way back or if it's just from Jericho's short time in New Japan, but it's very cool to see. Happy to see it. We then get a video of Archer. He says it's not the first time that they've wrestled, and things are going to be different from then. He's taking his time. He's been taking his time playing around with other wrestlers, but there's no chance in hell that Mox is going to beat him, and it's not going to be pretty. So just a general Archer promo. So
yeah, I'm guessing they couldn't do much more than this because of the COVID situation. So I wasn't upset with it or anything. I was like, damn, I wish we got more.
They're in a tough spot trying to build that match with a short amount of time, but I get it, because you can't really. He couldn't do much till probably this week with making sure the right safety precautions are in underway. So I'm not upset about it.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. It just sucks that they couldn't have built this match more and really built it up to be a big, these guys have fought before, they're going to fight again, which they did do, but it would have been cool to dwell on that more than they have. And Moxley kind of picks it up later in the show, and we'll talk about that.
He does.
It was fine.
Yeah. I think that we mentioned last week that the filler feud between Mox and Kingston was so great. I guess I didn't realize how short on time we were getting between Mox and Archer, because now I still believe that was one of the better filler feuds we've gotten, but I think that Archer definitely could have benefited from more time for anything, and I totally understand why nothing necessarily has. It's just a tough spot, but I don't blame him. I just think that match does not have as much hype as it should, but they, again, as you said, later on in the show, it does get a little bit better. After this, we get the Young Bucks preparing to watch the match between FTR and TH2. This goes about 14 minutes, so TH2 gets a decent amount of time. The match itself was kind of clunky because I think Evans was either legit hurt or working an injury throughout the match, and so I was kind of confused. I thought at first I was like, he's selling phenomenally. Then he went and botched the maneuver off the top rope. I don't know, AJ, what was this match?
I was gonna say the exact same thing. He did a move off the top rope, and he was holding his leg, and then they were going after the leg. So I don't think he's hurt. I think that was the idea, but I think he did botch when he went up top and went for a move, and they just kind of played into it like, oh, his leg's messed up, couldn't hit the move correctly, because he went up right after and did another move that did hit. So I feel like it was just a few missteps by Jack Evans, which sucks because he doesn't get a lot of time on TV, so it sucks that it wasn't perfect or anything. But it wasn't a bad match at all. I actually really enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, I expected them to lose a lot faster than they did, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be a quick one where but no, they kind of
Evans carried it really, like, because he was the primary guy in the match. Well, I think that he did. I don't know that. I'm not saying he carried it overall, but he carried it for his team because he did most of the work. He was the main guy getting beat down throughout the match. That's the story that they were trying to tell. At least that's what I took from it. And I think that it was difficult for me to understand what was happening, but because of that, I thought that was really good, I guess, if he's selling an injury, and I think that he's really injured, and because I kind of bought into the idea that he was legit hurt, and that's why the botch happened. So really, the botch didn't come off too horribly. I was just like, why are you guys going to this extent to try and show? So to me, it was all weird. But overall, it was still a good match, and they told a decent story with it. And I think Evans did well enough that, especially coming off of an injury, so they sold it. It was well. Like, I mean, it was a decent story for a match that really should have been a throwaway match. I think they did a good job at really doing something for us there.
Yeah, and I really like the angle that they were underestimating TH2. You know, they picked their opponents so that they could get an easy win, and TH2 comes out and goes really hard, and I like that they were also drawing comparisons to that this is a team that they don't want to face in reality, even though they picked them, because this is a team that's going to be similar to the Young Bucks.
Right.
And the Young Bucks are going to wrestle a fast-paced, flippier, agile style, where, more lucha libre influenced style than what FTR is used to get them out of their comfort zone. So I think in that regard, they did a really good job telling a story here of just, this is what could end them as a tag team champions.
Fair enough. I agree with that too. I don't think that the story that came post-match was necessarily as good as what you just explained, because post-match, the Young Bucks first super kicked the cameraman who'd been watching them, making a play on the theory that when there's a cameraman watching wrestlers in the back, they're being spied on. Following that, we get FTR appearing as hot dogs on the Tron, and the Best Friends come out and explain the joke, saying that they're weenies. This was not done very well. I don't know how well you can do this. Trent did his best, but it just didn't work for me. Chuck says that what's not a joke is that they're going to be the number one contenders for the title because Tony Khan gave them a title match for next week. I do like the build for the Best Friends into becoming a viable contender, and I like the build between the Best Friends and FTR kind of going back and forth for a couple weeks where I legit could believe in the Best Friends winning here. I think that they've had two lengthy tag team championship reigns with the prior champions in SCU and then Kenny and Hangman, that a short reign here for FTR isn't going to hurt the belt at all. The Best Friends are very much viable champions, especially coming off as victors from a 5-star match in that street fight they had. And
here is why I think they're going to lose. Originally, they announced this match on the show, because I wrote it in the notes, and you'll see that later, as a normal rules. And then today they put out a tweet saying it's going to be a Brush of Greatness match with the 20-minute time limit.
Okay.
So in my head, I'm like, okay, they're not winning, but they are going the 20 minutes.
And I'm not mad at that either, because that'll be a great match, and that doesn't beat the Best Friends. And I'm not, again, because I would also like to sort of get that out of the way, the whole Brush of Greatness thing, because it's inevitable. I think within this title reign, in order to even get something like that over and make it something that they could do again, they have to continue with it. I don't think losing it, they have to at least hit the 20-minute mark once, is my point.
Yeah.
So you get that here with the Best Friends. They have a great match. They utilize a great portion of the show next week, and they do something fun. And I think then you go to a triple threat with FTR and the Best Friends, and there's a lot you could do, honestly, with all of that type of stuff. But I think you're right. I think you kind of helped me kill a little bit of my hope, but I still do have hope, honest hope in the Best Friends, because I'm a fan, and that's what they've done right. Because logic does say, Best Friends are gonna lose, probably. Like, that's the most logical, or maybe not even lose, but they go to 20 minutes. So that's the most logical sequence of events. But as a fan, I still want them to win, so I'm cheering for them. You know what I mean? That's what we asked for.
I'm right there with you. I want them to win too.
So I don't think that this segment itself built it up very well. And honestly, all of the segments they've had against each other have been kind of goofy and bad. But the Best Friends in general have been built up so well that I don't honestly care.
Yeah, absolutely. The Best Friends are definitely one of the best things that came out of this COVID situation.
100%. Their push and their build and elevation to being like a legitimate team that I definitely wasn't taking seriously before, but now I am. I agree with you 100%. So I think that was it's a great match to make. I'm glad they made it. The segment itself was whatever. After this, MJF says there's a lot of people say never meet your heroes, but he disagrees. The first time he met him, Jericho walked up to him and said, "You really got something." He said to pick up little nuances from people he respects, and MJF pointed at him and Jericho smiled. So just a short promo from MJF putting over Jericho. Then they have Shaq, Gene Simmons, Don Callis, Lars Ulrich, DDP all congratulating Jericho. So just continued hype for Jericho, as expected.
Don Callis, too, the Booker of Impact.
Yeah. And for Jericho, honestly, none of this totally surprises me. When I saw Tanahashi and kind of started thinking about just people Jericho could reach out to, I wouldn't have been surprised to even see The Rock send a video of, like, congratulations on 30 years. As big of a star as he is, especially with him mentioning potentially doing something for Ken Shamrock for Impact. Just those thoughts made me think that Jericho could reach out to The Rock, but that might have been the thing that prevented him from doing it, honestly. He didn't want to sound like a copycat to Shamrock, but...
Yeah, that's true. But it would have made sense, though. I mean, that's who he debuted in WWE with, you know?
Yeah, 100%. MJF's promo, though, wasn't really much. It was just a short little thing for Jericho. I do love where they're going with this, wherever it is, but this was just a small piece of that.
Mm-hmm.
We get a hype video for Cody versus Brody Lee. Really well done hype video. I was loving it when it was playing because I was just thinking this is what I asked for a couple different times. Just give me the recap of the feud that you've built up and show me why it's important or remind me why the match we're watching is important. And the match was great, honestly. A 20-minute TNT title match. The dog collar stipulation added a lot to it. It adds a lot to Brody losing because he doesn't really look bad in losing. I do question Cody getting the belt back so quickly, but by the end of the match, I had a feeling of why Cody got the belt back so quickly. With Orange Cassidy coming out, I have a feeling Cody could be a transitional champion. I could be way off on that, but I'm expecting a title change next week somewhere, so it could happen here. What'd you think of the match overall and then the post-match situation?
Really good match. First off, the hype video, you would have loved Road to Jericho, because that was even longer of a hype video. It was exactly what you were talking about, like an 8-minute video. And so I was like, damn, Andrew, I should have sent it to you, but I totally forgot.
Fake
but
friend.
anyways, yeah, the match itself, fantastic. Dog collar matches, I love them. I think they're really cool and very rarely done. And so I was really into this. I love that Joseph thought that this was the one where you touch the turnbuckle pads.
The Texas Bull Rope match, man.
Yeah, those suck.
I don't dislike that match type, but I do like this match. I like the variation. I like that we got this variation first as well. I could expect and do expect, honestly, to see them do something like a Bull Rope match now that I've seen them do this, because now I see where they're going to go with their specialty type matches, but I liked this a lot.
Yeah, it was interesting. This is also, before I talk about the match, an interesting choice having old man Greg Valentine out in a crowd, but during COVID times.
He was all by himself, though. You can't say he was in a crowd, but
but
literally speaking, he was in a crowd.
But anyways, I actually liked it. I liked the fact that they had Greg Valentine, because I feel like they would have had Roddy too on the other side of the arena if he was still with us. Anyways, the match was brutal. They did a lot of crazy shit here. They did the traditional dog collar routine of hanging the guy over the top rope.
Plenty of callbacks, that you would expect.
Yeah, they did a package pile driver through the table. I was mad that it wasn't on TV, but you talked me out of being mad. Anyways, they were both bloody. I was kind of sad that Cody stopped being bloody at the end of the match, because I guess the blood coagulated. Because I was like, it would have looked way cooler if you won the belt and you were all bloody. But Brody, sir, was bleeding all over, because his cut was still very fresh by the end of the match. These guys, everybody got blood. John Silver got blood. Then he got kicked out of the match by Brody.
That was great.
I loved it. This was a really good TNT title match, probably the best one we've had, and actually easily the best one we've had.
I was gonna say, with the stipulation, it's hard to compare it against the lot of the rest. But yeah, I agree. It's a good match.
It was fantastic, and it wasn't short either. It wasn't like, oh, it's a TV match, so let's make it short. It was 20 minutes or so. How long was it? It was
20, 30,
30.
yeah. It shocked
Uh,
me with the victory too. I mean, it's one of those ones where I'm almost a little disappointed about it, but yeah, I think that they
Yeah.
surprised me for sure.
I wanted Brody to kill him after he kicked out of the Crossroads. After he kicked out of the Crossroads at 1, I was like, kill him, fuck him up, let him die. But that did not happen, which is
No.
fine. Uh, and they did a lot of. There were just so many cool spots. I could go on and on. Like when he went for the Cody Cutter and he yanked him off the top rope.
Yeah.
There was so much that they did with that chain where they really included. Like, it wasn't just a stipulation. They really made the gimmick work for them.
Or when he yanked him
and-
off the apron and hit the cutter, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the two different ways that spot ended up being incorporated in this match, and it was just the innovation of which in a match that people aren't used to seeing, it's not hard to be too innovative. A lot of that stuff could have been done before, and I wouldn't have known it. But it's smart of them to utilize the good stuff that was done before because it worked for a reason. So. Good match and sets up to an interesting one next week. I think that they could be going for Cody to be a transitional champion, but at the same time, Cody could be looking to turn heel. Set to face Orange Cassidy next week, one of the number one baby faces in the company. Not the number one, but one of the number one. It's hard to deny the idea that would be a perfect person for Cody to destroy, either after losing to him or just destroy for after beating him, you know what I mean? So who knows where they're going with this one? It was kind of out of nowhere.
I mean, I don't know. He just cut the most baby face ass promo. So I mean, it could, and obviously that could be a red herring. But
You mark.
I don't expect him to turn heel. I expect him. Like maybe I am a mark, but like I expect him to, like he said, like screw this. Like a lot of people said, because I have dark hair, I should go down a dark path, and he said, screw that. I'm with the fans all the way. And so I don't know, like. But you're right, he is facing Orange Cassidy. But I'm also thinking like that could just be circumstance. How many big name talents do they have for him to face? But it is weird that Orange Cassidy gets another side.
How many big name baby faces do they have for him to destroy and leave a bloody dominated
You're
mess
right.
in the middle of that ring? And have his brother come and try to stop him, and then he crossroads his brother, and then his wife comes and tries to stop him, and he crossroads his wife. But in all reality, I think that it's either Cody is being a transitional champion for Orange Cassidy, which is honestly nonsense in my opinion. Orange Cassidy doesn't make sense as the TNT champion right now. But
No, if he was gonna win it, he should have won it against Brody.
But I could see him winning it, and again, Cody turning heel. Cody still chasing that title. I don't love that it's still the Cody Rhodes title, though. That's the one thing. And I know Phil, if he was here, he would be very much against that. But I like Cody. Like him a lot. I do, and it's weird because he can't be the world champion, so I totally understand it being the Cody Rhodes title to an extent. But I want it to help freshen up somebody. So...
Yeah.
But
No, I hear you.
But they could go a lot of different ways with this. I do sort of expect it to be Orange's next feud, though, is Cody. I don't think this is a one-off match, to be quite honest with you. I think because Orange had a match so recently, it's very much strange that he's getting another one right away. Because it could have been anybody. It could have been anybody because of the people that Cody has faced. It literally could have been anyone. So
And I mean,
I'm
if
not
you want
mad
a
at
heel
it.
to go after the TNT title, you've just built up Eddie Kingston like a motherfucker. You could have had him come out, but you didn't, and so you might be right.
Yeah. So, overall though, I'm glad to see that match next week. I'm definitely not opposed to it, and like I said, I think that there's an angle built into that match. I think a lot of next week has angles built into it as they're going to start really pushing into that next pay-per-view for November now. So we got some new entrants announced for the tournament. We got Wardlow, Colt Cabana, and Hangman Page joining the fray of that one. So still 2 empty slots, but an interesting 6 so far.
Yeah, interesting is the word. I don't know how I feel about Wardlow being in it. Not that Wardlow hasn't done anything. It's just he hasn't really done anything on TV. And like he's a big imposing force, but like it's a title tournament. Wouldn't you think MJF would get that spot instead of Wardlow, his muscle? I don't know.
He's undefeated since his singles loss though to Cody. He's like
That's
6-0.
fair.
Well, 6-1, I would say, after his loss to Cody. But yeah, he's been dominant in his singles competition. I think that he's a fair entrant in a tournament where you also want to probably introduce some other faces into the foray. I think complaining about Wardlow for those reasons is silly when we're allowing Jungle Boy to get in with no complaints.
Oh yeah, and now that I think about it, Wardlow being in it and not MJF actually makes a lot of sense if they're going this inner circle route with MJF, because that gives a lot of credence for him to like screw over Wardlow, start a feud with Wardlow, be pissed at Wardlow. A lot of routes you could go with that. So now that I think about it, honestly, it could be really good. Colt Cabana being in it, cool. That's fine with me. Not fine with Phil, but he's not here, so haha. And Hangman Page, we all knew it was coming.
Yeah, I hope that we get Hangman versus Kenny in this one. But overall, I think that this is an interesting way to announce it, too. 3-3. Maybe we get the last two announced next week. If not, it'll be on social media this weekend. But I imagine probably next week's show, because I don't see any tournament matches on next week's show now, which kind of bums me out. I was hoping it would start next week. But I'm also okay with them waiting, because the last time they started the tournament prematurely, it ended way before the pay-per-view. And I was like, why? Well, not even way before. It was like 2 weeks before. So hopefully they time it out properly this time, and I'm not going to look it up and see if they have. So I like where it's going, though, with the 6 competitors named. Wardlow, Phoenix, and Jungle Boy are interesting names I would like to see enhanced through this tournament. Also, 3 names that could just be enhancement talent in the tournament. One thing I would like to see is like a win and in situation for anyone, whether it be a battle royal or like I would rather see a fatal 4-way, because we do see so many battle royals. But if it was like a fatal 4-way elimination match with I don't even know who, you could do honestly the 4 people at the beginning of the show: Starks, Cage, Darby, and what's his name? Will Power.
Will Hobbs?
Will Hobbs, yeah. If you had those 4 in a fatal 4-way to get in the tournament, like that would be a crazy match. Or just like any 4, honestly.
Well, Hobbs is in already, right?
Is he in the tournament?
I don't remember.
I don't think so. I think it's Wardlow, Colt, Hangman, Kenny, Phoenix, and Jungle Boy. So no Hobbs yet.
You're absolutely right.
But that's a way you could do it. And it doesn't have to be those 4. Again, it could be any 4. Do a fatal 4-way match and let one person get in that way, and then do like a Jericho or another big name for the last spot. But obviously they have a plan for it. Maybe it'll be MJF and Jericho, and the Wardlow thing will be a moot point at that point. From there, we get Marvez interviewing Kenny about this tournament, and Kenny just sort of says he's been waiting for a year to get his hands back on the championship. He basically says that he's going to be a champion regardless of it's singles or tag team. He doesn't care if Hangman gets in his way. He's going to win this thing. He's going to be the champion he's destined to be. This was kind of a strange Kenny promo, because it was just very like monotone to me. Which I almost preferred compared to the Japanese style, like the enhanced anime Kenny promos we're used to from his time in New Japan. This was a little bit more entertaining for me, but at the same time it didn't feel like Kenny at all, so it was kind of strange.
It was strange. It was I think he's just like putting on a facade. Like, I don't care that Hangman's in it, and that's why he was talking like that, because he was like saying, and at the end of the promo he was saying like, you know, Hangman's in it, I don't care, and if I have to beat Hangman, I'll beat Hangman, and it doesn't matter if Hangman's in it, and things like that. And so I feel like he's just kind of playing into this I don't care role, so like he's coming off a little apathetic, but he's not really. So I think that might be the reason why he became like a little more monotone here, but you're right, he was.
But otherwise, it really wasn't much of a promo, maybe because of that point. But it obviously leads me to believe even more it's the Kenny and Hangman tournament. I would be so stoked to see Kenny and Hangman in the first round of this one. It makes so much sense from a booking standpoint, even if you're like Khan putting together the tournament, like put together the best match in the beginning. It also makes sense to keep them on separate sides of the bracket. So I'm not mad if it happens either way, but I would love to just see it early so that way the tournament can become something else. And that would be fun as well. But if it's just the Hangman versus Kenny tournament, then I'm okay with it. But we'll know the second we see the brackets, you know?
Yeah, because really, Kenny and Hangman do not have to go after the title right now.
No.
You
could build up someone else. But again, with looking at the other people available right now, I wouldn't be mad at, again, Kenny and Hangman being the finals, because I don't see Colt, I don't see Wardlow, don't see Jungle Boy, don't see Phoenix. Like, none of those guys are viable contenders. And maybe they try to bring it to a situation where it's like, meh, I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to wait and
Maybe
see.
it is going to be MJF Jericho, like you said, though.
Yeah, again, that's the big thing. The last two competitors are important. I would like to see them be somewhat special or main event level competitors to offset the thought that it's Kenny and Hangman. Because while looking at the 6 available competitors, I have to lean to the idea that it's Kenny and Hangman because it does make the most sense. But overall, a solid tournament nonetheless. I'm excited to see Kenny up against literally any of these guys except Colt. Colt is fine, but I just don't. I want to see Kenny versus the other guys. Like, actually,
They're the ones with the being the elite blood feud, though.
Dang, you're right. That's gonna happen. Shit. Something else that happened last night. We had Big Swole beating Serena Deeb. You want to go ahead and talk about that match a little bit, AJ?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Here's my favorite part of this match: Serena Deeb murdering Big Swole with a lariat out of fucking nowhere. That was the best thing that happened in this match. Other than that, it was pretty standard. Nothing crazy exciting happened. You had some issues with Serena Deeb. I didn't. I like her a lot. I think she's really talented in a talent pool that really they don't have except for Hikaru Shida, who's the champion. And I think she could do well in this division, especially like thinking like down the line when you do have more viable people for her to face off against who are actually really talented. I still like. I'm not saying they have nobody. They have Ivelisse, they have Diamante, and they're both really good. But I would say they're on the same level as Serena Deeb. I wouldn't say they're any better or any worse. And so Big Swole, she's kind of hit or miss. Like sometimes, and tonight last night she kind of did pretty well against Serena Deeb, and she looked strong winning. But I don't know that I'm going to get behind Big Swole or become a Big Swole fan per se, because she just really doesn't do it for me. At first, when I first saw her, I was really like, man, Big Swole could be awesome. They could really make her a hyped up character. But as I saw her match live and as I saw some of her matches on Dark, it was just very clear that like she's not ready yet.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my biggest situation with Big Swole. I also just don't love the character that they have created for her, or that she's created for herself, whichever way it works. But it's okay so far. I just think that her attitude as a character comes off more heelish to me, especially throughout just kind of the whole situation with Britt. Like, she had a constant problem with Britt Baker, who's someone who's hurt. And just some of the stuff was definitely just more like a heelish nature, but coming from a face character. And then it still just hasn't really transitioned into her being like a phenomenal wrestler. It's not to say that she's bad. It's just that she's kind of like the rest of the division, really, kind of average. But Serena Deeb is a great addition to the division. It's nice to have, because the match was great. I think what my issue is like, what was the point of it? There's no emphasis on our women that are important, like Hikaru Shida. Didn't see her at all. Is she even defending the title next week? She might defend it. I'm assuming they're going to say Big Swole versus Hikaru Shida next week because Big Swole won, and that's how they randomly put together title matches. We haven't seen or heard from Nyla in so long. Like, we had a slew of great matches for like 3 weeks in a row with the women that they had available to them, and now it seems that they're just not available to them, or whatever's going on. Maybe they keep the women wrestling on Dark. I don't know, but I do know. I really
don't know either,
because this match was fine, great match, honestly, for women. That sounded horrible. It was a great match, honestly, for AEW in general, but it just like, what is the story? It's a very random match. It's like I'm trying to rack my brain for two pretty much baseless characters on the male division that I could equate this to, because these people just have no direction. There's no direction for Swole, no direction for Deeb, and I would like to see direction for them. That was where my issue also is coming from, is because commentary is like, if Serena Deeb wins, she could be a potential #1 contender, and I was like, the fuck she can? Like, yeah, it's a good win, but give me a break. Like, let's build her up a little bit more and give her...
not even wrestling the #1 contender, who I don't know who that is.
Probably
Big Swole
Nyla,
is apparently the
you know
number
what
2.
I mean? So...
yeah. And you're right. And they clearly have no direction here. And what you said sounded horrible, but I know what you meant. In this women's division, this was a great match.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true because sometimes it's hit or miss, or you just don't know what you're gonna get. Because let's be honest, NXT has the women's division in America fucking stacked up, and they own them all. Like they are. You want to name a good women's wrestler who's American or even Japanese? They're probably in NXT or WWE.
Yeah.
So, goddamn good for them, but bad for AEW.
Yeah, it's tough comparing it because it's just like almost an unfair comparison with the
Yeah.
depth that they have. It's just it's just a tough situation for AEW, but they do continue to find talent like Serena Deeb, they've elevated that talent pool a lot more from where we were complaining a couple months ago. So I don't want to sound
Yes.
like we're too hard up on because they almost have enough talent. I just need to see them more, and I need to see a direction for them. Make it make sense to me. And this could be the beginning of that. So I don't want to sound too harsh on it because again, the match was fine, made Swole look good, made Deeb look good, so they can go somewhere with that. Somewhere
Sure.
else that they can go with it with stuff is this Jon Moxley video package. This was a great Mox promo.
Yeah.
Just building up this fight with Archer, talking about how he has had a match with Archer before. You don't simply beat Archer, you survive him. He knows that if he hands the belt to the referee, he may never touch it again. It was this promo that honestly made me feel like Archer had the biggest shot of winning over anything else that has happened in this feud. Obviously, they couldn't do any like pull-apart brawls and destroy each other because, well, Archer can't be at the show. But this was good enough. Mox did a great job at elevating what needed to happen here, so can't be mad at it. Really a great promo.
Just hearing him talk like Archer is a serious threat. Like, I've wrestled this guy before, and I don't know that I'm going to win. Because you never know if you're going to win when you face a guy like him. I love that. I thought that's exactly what you need to be saying here. It's tough that they can't show that, but it's good that they're telling it. And it's good that, like, he ended on a down note. He was like, you would have to take the title off my dead body, and it's like you always say, everybody dies. So he was ending it like, I might lose.
Yeah.
So, really, like, he's saying basically, I'm afraid of Lance Archer. I'm afraid I might lose the title, but I'm gonna go out fighting. And I think that's the right move, especially when you have a monster character like Lance Archer, because you don't want to take away all their steam. And okay, I'm gonna be honest. I want Lance Archer to win. I want a huge upset. On an anniversary show, I want a title change. I want Lance Archer to go in, and they can have the rematch at Full Gear or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care. I want Lance Archer to go in and dominate.
Yeah, I was going to pretty much agree with you on that point that I've kind of been saying it all show. I do expect a title change next week. If there isn't one, I think that they have stacked up a card to essentially disappoint everyone because no one wants to watch a card full of title matches and see nothing change. So I do think that there's an inevitable title change next week, and this match could be it because Mox's run has been fine, but it's kind of stale, and I don't totally know what they have planned for him for the pay-per-view. So if you don't plan on doing Mox versus MJF or Mox versus Jericho again, which would be I don't want that. So if we don't plan on doing that, the best thing to do is run back Archer versus Mox. But how do you do that? So either there's going to be some shitty finish, or they're going to both die before the match can even finish, which is another option that could very well happen. Everybody dies. But I do think that you could be onto something here that Archer could win. And again, as fans, you know, that's where they've done a great job at building this guy up because we want to believe in him. We want to believe he can win. And it's not like we're diehard fans because of who he is or anything. He's just a badass. So how do you not root for that?
I kind of am, to be fair. I'm not going to lie and say I'm not biased.
I don't want to put the perception that AEW has built him up as a babyface, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's just like we want to see him win because we're fans of his badassness or whatever. Yeah. So overall, I think they did a great job, and I think Mox did a great job with this promo. So
absolutely.
And I think that because I think I'm right in saying that this feud has been built up kind of shaky, obviously because of the coronavirus and stuff. The only way to extend it is to put the title on Archer, so that would make the feud actually good. You know what I mean? If it's just short and Mox beats Archer, even if it's a great match, if he beats him clean, what did it do? You know what I mean? What was it? It was just sort of a beat Archer clean thing.
Same thing with the TNT title. Like, what was the point of it?
Yes, and you can't do that twice in a row. So
you really shouldn't. And
I guess
I don't mind them if they. I really don't mind it if they hot potato the title a little bit, because it's not like them to do that. It's not like they do it all the time like WWE. It's not like an NXT situation where people get called up to the main roster, so the title just flops around. It's not.
It almost adds
like
to Mox's reign, really, because he loses it to someone who's a badass, but then gets it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it really does elevate them both in a short amount of time. But then I become wary of, okay, they would almost need to know what their plan is for the next champion, and that's probably 3 or 4 months down the road. That's where I would be a little bit bummed, because and we're in the minority. I'm especially in the minority of, like, I love Mox, but I don't want him to be champion. So that's where I would be a little bummed, is like, I know if they hot potato it between those two, Mox has another 3-month, 4-month reign in him, which is fine in a sense, because the fans are fine with it, everyone else is fine with it. I just don't love it, and I'm a big Mox fan. I don't love it either,
but you're right. We are the minority there, and Mox is one of the most over guys in wrestling right now. Okay, like, that's just a fact. He is on a national television show coming out of the biggest promotion in the world as the champion of the new promotion. He is as hot as hell,
and he's now had like a dominant ass run. So and now he's getting into his mode with his promos and shit, man. So with Mox saying stuff like,
"Well, it's like you always say, Lance. Everybody dies."
Everybody dies, bro. The whole promo was great. So I just have a lot of fun with Moxley when he can get into what I think Moxley is. You know what I mean? It's never been he's the best wrestler in the world. It's always been his promos. So when we get to have a lot of fun with Moxley, I like it. So I'm glad where this is going, and I would like to see it continue.
Yep.
He works well with people that are also very badass. So
yes, he does. Like, I don't know if it happened or if it didn't happen, but he was going to have a match with Minoru Suzuki, and I think I missed it if it happened, but I was like, oh, god damn, that's going to be incredible.
Fake fan, AJ. Exposed once again. Next week we have FTR taking on the Best Friends for the tag team titles in what was it, Brush with Greatness. We also have Miro and Kip in action, Cody defending his newly won TNT title against Orange Cassidy, and as we just spent a decent amount of time talking about, Moxley defending the title against Archer. So a jam-packed anniversary episode of AEW Dynamite next week. It is amazing and I feel like, I'm pretty sure, honestly, this week was the real-life anniversary episodes in terms of dates, but they knew they were up against the debate, so they didn't want to deal with that, and I get that. But it's amazing to me that we've been at this for a year now, not just us on the show, but AEW on the show, like, everything. It's cool to see what it's become. Again, I mentioned it a while ago that it's not exactly what I was expecting, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with what it is, and I like it, and I like that it continues to evolve and become something better, and we have another show down the pipeline eventually, so a lot of good stuff to look forward to.
Definitely. Super excited for next week. Don't know what's going to happen. Like you said, I totally expect a title change. Don't know what it's going to be, but I expect one. And I'm really hoping it's the world title. I really hope everybody retains, and you start thinking, man, it's going to be everybody retains, and then Lance Archer takes it. And I think that would be just really out of left field for so many fans, and like, not even a swerve, just fucking cool.
Yeah.
And just fucking awesome. Something that you like when you don't expect something to happen and it blows your mind, and the bad
kind of like
guy
the
wins.
Brody thing, you know what I mean? That's where I wonder. You know it'll work and it'll be good because it worked with Brody and stuff, and this time it's on Dynamite. And I don't expect the same type of match at all either. I expect it to be like a dominating match. Mox hits his finish at least once. Archer kicks out of it. Like, they both exchange stuff like that, and then it's just a long, fun brawl. I think that the card is pretty light, in terms of actual matches, because the matches on the card are going to be longer and fun. You know what I mean? So I'm very excited for next week's show. I do expect to see probably a women's title match added to the card, but I'm a little bummed out, and it's a good sign. But it shows what they've done with their women's division in the last year when they don't even have a feud built up for that on this card. They've done everything else really well. It's a shame what they've done with that women's division, because 3-4 months into AEW, we were like, this is a great women's division. We had Rio. We had a lot of fun things going on. I feel like I don't know what else we had besides Rio, but we were still saying it was the best women's division. And it was at the time. We were having a lot of fun. But, now we are where we are. So I do think and hope that we get a women's title match, but we got what we got. So
I killed a bug while you were talking. I apologize.
You're good, brother. After this, right before the main event, we get not Archer, it's a different Lance Storm, Kevin Smith, Eli Roth, Gabriel Iglesias, Chavo Guerrero, Steel Panther, Ultimo Dragon, Paul Stanley, all congratulating Jericho. So again, just another deep lineup of people willing to congratulate Jericho, and just shows how far he has stretched his career both in rock and roll and professional wrestling. So it was very cool to just see the celebration of Jericho continued with all these different names. We then have the main event match with Jericho and Hager defeating Luther and Serpentico in about 9 minutes. What do you think of the match itself, AJ?
It sucked. Luther sucked specifically. Luther was garbage. He tried. He did not succeed, but he did try. He was not great, not very agile. Like, he was going for top rope moves that he shouldn't have been going for. He got hit with the Judas effect and kind of just like walked around and then dropped to a knee, and it was really awkward. It was not the best. But it was Jericho's match, man. It was Jericho's 30th anniversary match. That's what's cool about it. He got to pick his opponent. He got to wrestle his boy on his 30th anniversary. Fuck yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, the match itself didn't do a whole lot for me. It was, I don't know, because you're right, Luther didn't really deliver a whole lot, and that was the primary person involved in this match, because they were obviously just giving Jericho the match that he would have requested. It's weird because we don't even recognize the relationship between Jericho and Luther, because we don't know about it, but obviously in real life, like, they are legit close friends, or must be something, because Jericho put him in this position on this show. So in terms of that, I'm okay with it, but yeah, the match didn't do much for me. After the match, though, we had a lot of fun. Jericho cuts a decent promo before getting cut off by MJF. MJF says that it's not about him. He wants to be a part of the celebration. He gives Jericho Clownico the Clown, who is holding another gift, which happens to be a picture of MJF. Jericho gets both of these gifts, and he says he's impressed, but I don't believe him, because he smashed the picture over the head of Clownico and hit him with a beautiful Judas effect right after. It was a wonderful sequence.
Much better than Luther's.
Yes, it looked great, but it was murder in quick fashion. MJF initially looks upset, but they both laugh it off and point at each other, and MJF announced it next week. This was an announcement for an announcement, so I thought the turn was coming this week. Psyched me out. It's coming next week. I don't totally know where they're going with this. I expect MJF to join the Inner Circle, but I love that we have a story that is coming to some sort of climax next week.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. I think it's going to be him saying, I want to be in the Inner Circle, and that's how he's going to, penetrate into the Inner Circle and try to take over. And penetrate, sorry. You laughed. Anyways, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And I really don't have too much to say about it. The clown was stupid. The picture was stupid. That was the point. It was supposed to be stupid. And, Clownico the Clown getting wrecked was cool. So other than that, don't have a whole lot. I don't know. I was expecting more. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Sorry, dude. I did that to you guys. I was in our group chat. hyping it up for probably the last 15 minutes of the show, saying that Jericho would never have his 30-year anniversary without having a mega segment to close it out, and MJF was going to come out, and we didn't have anything, and I knew it was something had to happen, and then MJF comes out and almost immediately crushes my hopes by saying, by the way, next week I have an announcement. So it was still, I love that we're building up the anticipation for it, because that's what AEW kind of does best, but I did feel a little bit like, robbed. But they did.
If you do want to make a big move like that, you should do it when you're not against the debate. So I'm not upset about it. I'm not pissed off. I'm not like, oh, they should have done something. Also, I love the credits, the end credits for the show. Chris Jericho does a lot of work. I didn't even know.
He does everything, and I how could you not know? That just shows that you're a fake fan, AJ. I knew Jericho was doing it all for AEW from the start, so I've been giving my thanks and praise to that good brother. But yeah, they had some SNL-style credits to close out the show. Honestly, a fun show. The Jericho 30th anniversary show was a lot of fun. They had some great cameos from people like Tanahashi and Chavo Guerrero and Ultimo Dragon. We had the fun main event segment, at least. The match itself was fun if you're into that type of car crash shit. But it was good. Like, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really a car crash. That is honestly giving it.
It wasn't. It was okay.
Just average. Yeah. Luther going to the top rope a couple times made everyone in the group chat scared. But he was fine. He delivered. So
he did just as well as I thought he would.
Wow. Overall, though, Dynamite was great. It was a fun show. I had fun watching it. I think that they built up to next week's show really well, which is just a build up to the pay-per-view, which that's how I want to see it done. So we're in a good spot with Dynamite, and we say that all the time, but without Hangman and Kenny really being a focal point as they were for a couple months, they've still been able to build up other stuff and utilize other talent, and I love to see that. I'm excited to see where this tournament goes. Hope that they can get 2 more fun talent in there that I like to see. Maybe a Sammy G. He's not really doing anything. But yeah, I'm just excited with where Dynamite is. But and where it's going really is the bigger thing. So.
Yeah, and they're building up very well this anniversary show, and then you just got to expect with the tournament coming probably after the anniversary show that they're going to be building up to Full Gear pretty well as well. So
yeah, Full Gear is like a month away, right? Unless I'm tripping, it's November 7th.
No, you're right.
So it's literally 4 weeks from this Saturday. So they have 3 or 4 more Dynamites before then, which is awesome because, like I said, the next one is built up so well, and that's just a piece to the big piece, which is so fun. That's what AEW does best. That's how it should be. It's very cool to be excited to, an anniversary show should feel this way. It's how it should feel. So
absolutely
glad to see it. Overall, though, good build up to it. It's funny that it was like a go home show, but next week is just a free show. It's no pay-per-view. You don't got to pay for all those title matches. So hopefully we get a title change and something exciting. But otherwise, that's it.
That's it.
Before we close out, I'm going to do the thing I love to do to AJ where I ask him about next week's show live on the podcast. Do you want to just go live after Dynamite because it's the 1-year anniversary, big stacked card, maybe just go live right after the show and talk about it?
Why not?
Cool. So that's what we'll do next week. We might get a cameo appearance from my daughter depending on how well she wants to behave for that hour right after Dynamite. But, hey, we are going to talk about AEW's Dynamite special right after Dynamite next week. So we will be on Wednesday instead of Thursday. Otherwise, you can find us on all streaming services on Thursday morning. Thank you guys for continuing to support us on our change to doing stuff on Thursday nights and Friday mornings. But we appreciate it and see the continued support, so that's awesome. We have wrapped everything up. AJ, go ahead and plug your social media, and we will get out of here, brother.
You can follow me on Twitter at BigMatchAJ. You can follow me on Instagram at AJTheFitzy.
And you can follow me on Twitter at AllEliteAndy. I'm also on Instagram at Andrew Kazir. You can find the podcast on Facebook at Facebook.com/AllElitePod. We are on Instagram at AllEliteEverything. We are on YouTube at YouTube.com/AllElitePodcast. And if All Elite Podcast. And if you're watching us there, brother, make sure you smash that subscribe button. We are also on Twitter at All Elite Podcast. And that does wrap everything up for us. Thank you guys for tuning in with us and being wonderful supporters. Until next Wednesday.
You got me there for a second. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good night.